Okay. So I'll be explaining to you all few listening tips for difficult situation. Sometimes it's difficult to pay attention, and sometimes it's difficult to actively listen to a certain person or to a speaker. So sometimes we are bored, sometimes we are tired, sometimes we are not at all interested to listen to, but we need to. In that kind of a situation, how will you be able to listen to the speaker properly? So the first one is listening during boring meetings. So sometimes when you have to take part, when you have to sit in boring meetings, how are you supposed to listen to the other person properly so that you can remember everything, so that you can acquire all the, so that you can uh, listen to everything, and so that you do not miss any kind of information. So in boring meetings, you are supposed to you are supposed to take notes. So in that way, you will not forget anything. So whenever you are bored during a meeting, or not only meeting, whenever you are bored during a lecture or any kind of meeting, or in any situation, whenever you are bored and you know that it is important, you're supposed to listen, but you're not feeling like listening, you can just take out your notebook and then try to take notes. In that way, you will be able to keep a track of everything, and you will be able to also remember everything. And if you forget something, you can definitely, your copy will be there with you, so later on you can just open the copy and just have a look on whatever you have written. So in this way, you can pay attention, and in this way you can also increase, you can also let yourself to listen to the other person. You can help yourself to listen to the other person when you're not feeling like listening to the other person at all. So when you're taking notes of the things that has been said to you, then you will definitely be able to focus, and you will definitely be able to listen to the other person properly. Then try to engage yourself, try to engage with the speaker by asking questions. If you are too bored, then you can engage yourself, engage with the speaker. You can ask questions. If you have any kind of doubts, you can ask questions. You can give your suggestions, obviously. So in this way, you can help yourself to listen to the speaker actively, to listen to the speaker properly. And yes, these are the ways in which you can listen during a boring meeting or a boring lecture. Whenever you are bored during a lecture or a presentation or a meeting, and you know that meeting is important, you know that lecture is important, then you can just, the first and the best way to keep a track of everything is to write down the important points. In that way, you can again fix your focus, you can focus your attention, and in that way you'll also be able to keep a track of everything. Next is to stay engaged with the speaker. You can ask questions, you can provide suggestions, you can suggest something, you can also ask something, so that mm, वो बोरियत so that वो बोरियत चली जाती है, ठीक है. So in this way, boring meetings में you can use these tips to actively listen to the other person. Next is staying alert during lectures. Now, what are the things you should practice to stay alert during lectures? All right. So sometimes when you sit at the last bench, what happens is that you're not that alert. So that is why what you need to do is, when you know that it is important for you, you need to sit. You need to sit at the front, so that you can look at the person properly, so that you can listen to the person, properly, and you can also see the person properly. Because in case of face to face communication, Definitely, you need to listen to the words, but along with that, you also have to look at the gestures, the postures, the expressions, which will which will help you to connect with the speaker. So that is why try to sit at the front so that you can make a connection and so that you don't feel bored. Then the other things that you can do is to maintain eye contact, to to pay attention to the speaker, to listen to what the speaker is saying properly, to listen to what the speaker is saying to you, to what the speaker is trying to say, to what the speaker is trying to explain. So you must try to uh, pay attention. So the main thing is, being a listener, you have to pay attention. So your mind has to be there, it cannot roam here and there, it cannot go anywhere else, it has to be there, and it has to listen. You have your mind has to be there so that you can listen, so that you can understand. If your mind is not there in that particular room, or if your mind is like you're sitting there physically but your mind is somewhere else, your mind is in Delhi, your mind is in some other place, so nobody can help you. Then you have to make sure that your mind is there whenever you're listening to something, whenever you're listening to a speech, whenever you're listening to a lecture. You must make sure, you must prepare yourself to listen, you must concentrate, you must pay attention, and the other things will definitely follow. All right. So, and the other things that could help you to pay attention is to basically, whenever you are listening to a lecture, try to sit try to sit at the front, and try to avoid sitting next to people who would disturb you, or who would not pay attention, or who would just say unnecessary things. So try to avoid sitting near to those people, and try to be as close to the speaker as possible, so that you can have a clear view of the speaker, and so that you can clearly listen to the speaker. And again, you can again carry a notebook with you, and you can take the notes, you can write down the important points. Okay, and in that way you will be able to remember. And even if you forget, then what you can do is, you can just open your copy, open your notebook, and just go through everything, and you'll remember everything. So this is how you can stay alert during lectures. Staying focused in an interview. So now, if you sit for an interview, how will you stay focused? So, you must be a good listener in an interview. You must be a good listener. You have to listen to the interviewer properly. So, if in case you're unclear about something, about what the person has said to you, in case you have not listened to the in case you're not very sure about what the person has said to you, try repeating what he or she has just said you. So in that way you can clear your doubt. Not every time, but this technique, you cannot use this technique for each and everything. You cannot just restate everything, you cannot you cannot clarify everything, because in that way the interviewer will be sure that you have not listened, you are not listening to the interviewer properly, you are not listening to the person properly. So that is why you're so unsure about all the things. But once in a while, for example, in a 10 minutes interview, for once, if you are unclear about something, then you can repeat that particular thing, so that whether just to check whether you have heard the person correctly or incorrectly. Then what you can do is, you can have a conversation with the other person. You can try to have a other person you can try to have a conversation with the other person, but you cannot have a personal conversation with the other person. You cannot forget that this is an interview. So you cannot just have one-on-one conversation in that way, like a personal conversation. But if you have any kind of questions in your mind, and of course you cannot be a question bank, but if you have any kind of questions, any kind of doubts regarding the company, regarding the particular job, regarding the particular position, then definitely when you get chance you can definitely ask the interviewer. All right. Then eye contact, yes, of course you need to maintain eye contact and appropriate body language, so in this way you can stay focused in an interview. Then handling problems through effective communication. How will you be able to handle problems through effective communication? What should I do? I should explain this to you in the next class, I guess. Okay, I'll explain you briefly. So the first point is, when a person approaches you with a problem, listen to what he or she tells you. So whenever a person is sharing a problem with you, how will you be able to handle that problem? How will you be able to listen to that? How will you be able to provide a solution to the person? You have to listen to the person very carefully. You have to try to understand the person very carefully. Then the other options are, get to know your colleague and how you and other colleague can best help them. So if there is a problem, you should try to uh, know your colleague and the kind of problem he or she is facing, and you should also approach other people to help you to help that to help the person. Then when someone comes, don't sit behind your desk when someone comes to you for advice. So whenever somebody seeks advice, then what you have to do is, you are not supposed to just like sit like a boss. You are supposed to sit next to the person, and in that way you can have a uh, conversation with one another, and in that way you will be able to understand the other person properly. Do not try to be judgmental, because if you try to be judgmental, you will not be able to understand the person, you will not be able to understand the situation of the person. So that is why, do not be judgmental. Also notice the body language, also notice the facial expressions of the person. So because the words, and along with the words, the expressions, the posture, the gesture also play a very important role in the communication process. So that is why, if you notice the expressions, the gestures of the person, then you'll be able to understand the person in a better way. So whenever somebody approaches you in this way, what you can do is, after the person has said you something, and then after you have provided a solution, try to summarize everything and try to summarize everything. Do not just let it stay in that way. You have to figure out a solution to it, and you have to summarize it. You have to uh, like uh, plan, and you need to agree on steps to move forward. What can be done next, you need to decide that as well. So in this way you will be able to handle problems through effective communication, and by being a good listener. And the next one is listening to your boss. How are you supposed to listen to your boss actively, even if you don't want to? So do not let attitude interfere with listening. So do not show a negative attitude. Do not bring ego in between. Just listen to the person properly, and then only you'll be able to learn and understand. So whenever your boss is saying you something, whenever your boss is trying to explain you something, listen to him properly. Even if he is criticizing you, you should listen to the person properly. You should welcome that criticism so that you can improve. Avoid mental and emotional avoid mental and emotional filters when you talk to your boss. So you must concentrate on what he or she is saying. You should not bring any kind of emotions in between them. You should not take it personally, and you should not be judgmental. You should not take it personally because it's not related to your personal life. So that is why you should not bring any kind of emotions in between, and you should take it professionally, and you should try to take it in a positive way. Also be aware of your body language and the tone of your voice, and also take care of the words that you are using, and listen with empathy. Try to understand what he or she is trying to say. So these are some of the tips and tricks that you can use to listen to someone properly. So yeah, that's all. Do you have any doubts?